and welcome to this week's episode of Chatting with the Lightkeeper. If you are new to these parts, I guess this little light station, I'm Edward. I actually don't go around and introduce myself as the Lightkeeper. That would be kind of weird, I would think. But that whole, I guess, persona thing that we sometimes create online. And some of the things that happened this week got me my wheels turning about online personas and how we present ourselves online. And I know it's kind of a jump from last week when we chatted about dominants who are sort of dominant, almighty, and the importance of empathy to jump into go from there to online personas, our personable personas that we all carry online or even in person. We might have a little bit of a different way we carry ourselves, say at work, versus outside of work, or with family versus friends. We all sort of tweak ourselves a little bit based on our audience. But events of the past week kind of got me going on this, and we'll get to that. um, I guess let's start with the good of the week. For me, there was a lot of fantastic things. Work was good. I actually sort of achieved a few things I had been wanting to for quite a while. Finally got there. So that was a good thing personally for me, work wise, growth wise. It still really hasn't felt like summer here in my fair city. But the extended forecasts are telling me, and the weather people on TV, radio, whatnot are saying summer, super summer heat is due to arrive. I don't know, a few days time. So hopefully, if you live in this area, your air conditioners are in tip-top shape, or you have a nice, cool place to retreat to, because it sounds like it's going to get lovely, lovely Michigan summertime. Nice high humidities, nice high temperatures. So it feels like you can wear the air, and that is coming, which it'll be nice after kind of the cool start of summer that has come this way. Warm winter, cool, very cool kind of spring summerish. Which is just it's kind of odd how that all happened, but it is what it is, and it's here. The other good thing about the week, I don't know if any of you folks listening, folks, boy, that sounds makes me sound old to use folks. That sounds like a grandparent word. Yeah, goodness. Anyway, anybody listening, if you happen to use Meta Threads, the Threads app that's kind of linked to Instagram, I started this little thing on Threads. I was just curious. I jotted down all 26 letters of the alphabet and then jotted down a word that in my mind linked to the BDSM lifestyle from that letter, and started sharing them. Started with A, and I'm going to work myself to Z over the next little while. And today's the F word, and no, I didn't use the F word. But if you want to see what I picked, just head over to Threads, which if you have Instagram, it's really easy to set up a thread. You just sort of tap the little at symbol thingamabobber that's there, and it'll walk you through it. And if you're already there, just you know type in "chatting with the Lightkeeper," just like this podcast. That's me. I'm there, and you can see as I go through the alphabet of what words come to mind for me, and of course I welcome everyone else to share their thoughts, their words along with it. And I'm just been pleasantly, actually, beyond pleasantly surprised, blown away by the reaction people have had, and the number of people who have who have um, touched the content. It's just kind of like, wow, I didn't know there was this many kinky people on Threads, but there are. There's a lot of kinky people on Threads, and so far it doesn't seem to be as Threads does not seem to be as I don't know, it doesn't seem to have that weird content sometimes that other social media sites and kink can bring together. So far, Thread seems pretty cool. So I'm enjoying it, and of course, enjoying the fact that I'm connecting with more and more people with like minds. So that's sort of the good of the week. The ugly, since the last time we've chatted, is um I slowly been sort of building. But on one of my social platforms that shall remain nameless, there was a person who, um, would DM with some not so fun stuff, and rather than engage, you just somebody like that you block, and the process slowly started getting more frequent and less nice. And I'd block, they'd create a new identity and start in again, block, repeat the process. And then I reached out to the platform and said, "Hey, this is what's going on. Here's some lovely screenshotage for you guys. Can you help me out?" And they did. They um from what was said to me and what it appears to be, they took the IP address that this individual was using and said, you're on timeout, and if they do come ever back from timeout, that lovely IP address, which is where IT professionals go to the bathroom, by the way, the IP address, um, they can no longer interact with anything that I should create. Profile wise, same one, new one, sort of. I'm shielded from that person's address on the internet, which is fantastic. Then suddenly over on Instagram, about 24 hours after that happened, suddenly almost all my content starts getting flagged for being, I don't know, being naughty. We'll just say it that way, being naughty. I don't know what it was flagged for, but it was just like a continuous thing. No, it's not appeal. No, it's not appeal. No, it's not appeal. And this would kept going and going and going, and I realized that Instagram would only show me like the first five in the queue of these, and so those would get resolved, of course, and then the next five would come up, and then those would get resolved, and the next five would come up, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is ridiculous. So sort of did a big delete of some content on Instagram. I didn't want to do it, but I just didn't want to deal with that crap anymore, so I zapped out a lot of it, and hopefully the fact that this person didn't get me silenced or kicked off of Instagram or upset or I don't know, what have you. I mean, I'm assuming it's the same person. It has to be. I use the same name across platforms, so it's not that hard if you know, can't interact with me on one platform to migrate to another. But yeah, so that was that, and it was sort of weird because yeah, it was cyber stalking, and you sort of think, will that happen to me? I've had some bad experiences with people in person, but this is the first time where I have had something where someone online had me sort of looking over my shoulder, perhaps a little bit. I was working from my porch office on a chilly day this week and, going through the process of blocking and reporting, and the person delivering the mail came up behind me. I go back to them and they're like, "Good morning," and I about jumped out of my skin, which is not normally the case, but it was just little things like that kind of had been happening. So I hope that everything is kind of calmed down, that maybe this person is going to move on to a new target who will choose to walk away rather than get the platform involved and possibly get themselves deplatformed. Um, so hopefully that I am through my cyber stalking incident person thing. It is not fun, but that whole not fun going through the whole cyber stalking thingamabobber got me thinking about are personable personas. The fact that, online, many of you know me as the Lightkeeper or Edward, perhaps. And I do share some things about me personally. And but I don't share it all. Like you only know what I let you see, or that the bits that I let you see I share for, for a reason. There's a reason why I let you see it and I don't let you see, it's not I'm not living in a glass house. Um, which is probably good because the cyberstalker probably likes to throw rocks. But no, I'm not in a glass house, and maybe a glass case of emotion, if you happen to be familiar with that. But the whole persona, we choose to let people see what we want them to see online, and that's true with our vanilla social media too, our kinky social media, or maybe they're one and the same for you. Our public persona and our private persona is very different. You might think because I have a podcast, I like to write, I have my own website now, that if we met in person, that I might be the talkative one in a conversation. And while I'm very much an active listener, and yes, at times I can definitely be a talkative one, obviously I have a podcast, obviously I like to talk, and obviously I can talk. And but typically when I'm meeting somebody new, I prefer just to sort of let the conversation flow naturally, whether it's me asking a question, them asking me a question, however it flows. I don't ever feel like I have to be talking or that silence is uncomfortable. Silence is very comfortable for me. So if there's a moment of silence in a conversation, it doesn't feel uncomfortable. So it's just, I don't know, I'm just trying to think of how people might perceive my persona from what they see online, um, versus what life actually is. And obviously, BDSM and kink are things that, well, yes, they are important to me in life. They're not the end all and be all of my life. This is not what I think about 24/7. This is not, I don't have a down moment at work and think, oh goodness, what am I going to have the podcast be about this week? Or boy, Friday's 3 days away. I want to write an article for Fetish Friday on a fetish. What kink or fetish am I going to pick this week? It's not the case at all. It's just all of this stuff is a creative outlet for me, and I enjoy being creative, and I enjoy having the lightkeeper persona. Um, it's fun, it's exciting, it challenges me, and it lets me connect with new people who do get a chance, if we do connect, become friends, they can see the person behind the curtain. Although I don't live in the land of Oz. Speaking of land of Oz, there were supposed to be some horrendous storms that were supposed to come through yesterday, and boy, I enjoy a nice thunderstorm, and these storms were real. I mean, there was some thunder, there was some rain, but it was really kind of a blasé little rumble. So no Land of Oz here. Not that I have Toto or wear red shoes. There was no clicking of anything together to get back home. So I guess that is a good thing. Disappointing in the fact that I didn't get to watch a nice storm over the Big Lake, which is quite amazing to see if you've never seen it. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. Um, when it comes to BDSM though, and even kink or poly even, um, so much of our reason for kind of inventing our personas is for our own protection and privacy. Let's face it. Our personal safety is paramount, and while we're open-minded, amazing people, not everybody else in the world is. There are stigmas, there's discrimination, and that comes with, if people find out that we might be, we might be kinky or that we might be into BDSM. It's misunderstood. So we want to be able to be in control of who we allow to see all of us put together as a whole person. So we create our personas and we use them to navigate through. Um, and it's very important because really anytime you share things kinktastically, there are people who can twist it or think negatively about you. The public perceptions of BDSM are, we're judged harshly, even though really here in the United States, over half the people of the country have had sexual fantasies that involve, bondage or dominance or submission in the bedroom. But they might have had those fantasies and not acted on them or think there's something wrong with them or people who engage in that. So we keep all of that to ourselves and we invent our little persona to give us that protection, if you will, which is kind of funny that so many people admit to researchers about having the fantasies, about having the desires, and yet negatively judge those who take the next step and say, I want to explore this. I don't want to just have this be a reoccurring fantasy. I want to learn all about it. Um, and of course, another couple of reasons why we do our personas, of course, are professionally. I certainly wouldn't want to sit down and have a kink-based discussion with my boss or my peers or the minions who work for me. That would be very awkward. They don't need to know anything about that. What they need to know about my personal life is what I tell them. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just, yeah, it's my personal life and it's my life and that's my work life. And I choose what my work life knows about my personal life. That's how it goes with me. You might disagree, but that's fine. And I guess if you're one of my minions, you probably wouldn't want me to talk about the awesome podcast thing that I do about BDSM and kink, especially if it's not your jam. So there's professional repercussions. That's why we do it. And then, of course, there's friends and family. Let's face it, we have some amazing family members. We have some not so amazing family members. And then we have our friends, which is our, chosen family, if you will. And some of our chosen family, and maybe even some of our real family, knows about our kingtastic sides. But once again, our online personas allow us to pick and choose who we get to share it with and who we don't. Uh, Now, when it comes to the whole persona thing, it is kind of a balancing act of what to share, what not to share. Am I oversharing? Am I sharing too much? Or if I share this, will it allow somebody who is, in what I've been having the joys of learning about, if you are a stalker, is this something, if I share it, that you'll be able to sort of put that into your mathematical equation to potentially figure out where I'm from? Not just the state, but, going beyond that to come a little closer to home. If I share that, will that sort of be a clue for, you know, Cluso, the cyber stalker, or will it not be? So we have to be very, very careful about what we share and with whom we share it, and we have to be comfortable with all of that, whether we share, whether we don't share. And sometimes it can feel comfortable to share something, and then perhaps afterwards not so good about it because looking back, we might realize it might reveal too much about who we really are. So we go back and we hit the little delete button, and that post is gone, or that conversation, has gone and vanished into the wind for the most part. So it's very important that we maintain our boundaries professionally, personally, and with our personas. We also have our boundaries, what we will share, what we don't share. It's like, for example, it's one thing to say that you work as a computer programmer in downtown Gotham. But it would be not the smartest thing to say, oh yeah, I work for Bruce Wayne Industries and I'm on the 43rd floor and I'm a computer programmer there. That would be a little too much. So it's important to maintain our boundaries and be firm and respectful with them, which I don't know how boundaries cause this to jump around in my mind, but it is there. And with boundaries in BDSM, so often we see conversations roll about where boundaries are not cherished, they're not upheld, they're not, people have their boundaries unfortunately violated, which leads to themselves being violated, um, having, bad things happen to good people. And so when we talk boundaries in BDSM, it often goes to bad places, negative places, not so fun places. And as we look around the lifestyle, we see much more negative, bad experiences talked about. We don't see the positive outcomes. We don't often see or latch onto um, the the wonderful good things that are out there, the the relationships that have been together for 25, 30 years and are still as kinky as they were from day one and are still going strong. Well, and that gets me to think too, let's face it, the way, I guess in a way, social media and the way the media and the way it sort of, if we let it condition us as humans, we tend to focus or remember the bad stuff rather than the good stuff. I mean, when was the last time a news program had good news? They might have good news at like the last story of the little nightly newscast or the daily newscast, or at the end of the week they have a good news piece. Um, or you know, so it's we don't necessarily focus on the positive outcomes, and I think we need to do more of that. In and around the lifestyle is focus more on positive successful outcomes, or remember them when we see them. If you see a relationship where maybe they're celebrating their first year, or they're celebrating 6 months, or 6 years, or 16 years, whatever it is, just sort of take and make a mental note of that, so that we are taking note of the positivity in the lifestyle rather than the negativity, which can be persuasive, or you know what I mean. Sorry. The right word is not coming to mind here for my mind, and we're gonna keep rolling. But yeah, focus on the positive. Look for the positive. Even in bad experiences. You know, my whole stalker fiasco this week, which once again we're gonna knock on some granite, since I don't have any wood, and if I hit my head, you wouldn't hear it. So, knocking on some granite countertop, which is supposed to be luckier than knocking on wood, so I'm told. Or at least I'm telling myself that. That's the key thing. I'm telling myself that. The stalker incident this week, while it could be a negative thing, it could be seen as by some as maybe I should take a step back. Um, I'm seeing this all as a learning opportunity to learn, to be positive, to make sure that I'm once again careful with my online persona, with the Lightkeeper, with what you know about Edward, what you don't know about Edward, that I'm comfortable with what I do share with everyone about myself, um, that I'm comfortable with it, so that there's not enough data out there that somebody could pop it into an equation and then pop up at my front door. That would be very, very weird. Um, but I mean, it's something that's been in my mind this week. Thankfully, there's been no uninvited guests. There's been no politicians knocking at doors, because that would have really really weirded me out at one point this week. But focus on the positives, and like I said, this whole incident for me has just been a reminder, a reinforcer of how important it is for me to be careful with what I say, not to overshare. And I think everyone else also needs to remember that when we interact with people online, they too most likely are doing that, either consciously or subconsciously. Um, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's not like you're being dishonest, you know. You're not being dishonest where if you say, yeah, I work in downtown Gotham, and you leave out, that you work for Bruce Wayne Industries and the building and the floor you work on. That's not being dishonest. That's just, saving those good details until you feel comfortable and safe and you want the other person to know it. And that's the truth, whether we are talking to somebody who is, you know, very vanilla, or if they are, kinktastically kinky. Doesn't matter. So we just need to be careful with what we share. Know that our personas are actually good things. They're not, it's not a bad thing to have an online persona. It's not a negative or a bad thing to hide behind. In fact, I kind of look at my online persona as a sense of pride. To be a light keeper, to be a beacon, and wanting to sort of, it helps motivate me to continuously do better, to try and do better, to work harder, all those things, and not just here in the wonderful world of podcast or content creation, but just in general at work. You have a struggling morning and the coffee's cold and there's 1,000 dumpster fires to put out, and I can remind myself that, hey, I've chosen the light keeper as my persona, and I can't let my light dim because the coffee's cold and I've got a whole bunch of dumpster fires to put out this morning. So your persona can be a positive thing. And yeah, that was really what I wanted to chat with you about. I hope that it didn't sound kind of crazy disjointed. Um, I didn't necessarily hold myself to my usual notes routine where I'm working off of notes. I was more working off what was stream of conscious. Part of that reason today was that I think doing that will be somewhat healing for me. I know that it might seem different for a man to say that a cyber stalker got in their head and caused some doubt, caused some feelings of apprehension, but it did. It happened. Like right now, I know like if somebody just like rapped on my door that I wasn't expecting, didn't know that they would be there. Even if I look out the window and see, one of my friend's cars, I would still have a moment of panic rather than a moment of, oh, I wonder who's here. I would just be sort of like scared out of my wits for a quick second before I recognize the car and, take a deep breath and calm down. So I think it's just important that we have our online personas, that they do represent us, so we're not being fake or we're not being misleading, but we are being protective of ourselves because, gosh darn it, we are all very important. So that has been what's been on my mind. I hope that you enjoyed it. Hope that I made sense. And before we call it a day here, I would really, really, really appreciate it if you headed over to chattingwiththelightkeeper.com. This is my new adventure. It's my website. It is um, slowly evolving. I think slowly getting better. But I would really appreciate your thoughts, your ideas on perhaps what I could improve upon it. I have added a whole bunch more content. You can, with my site, just so you know, um, plan on Mondays being an article of some sort on some kinktastic topic that's in my mind, being there. On Tuesdays, I do actually get Typically on a typical week, 3 to 5 questions that roll in anonymously. So those answers will be there every Tuesday, regardless of the day of the week that they come in. Tuesdays is the day the answers go out. Of course, you can ask me questions anonymously. That's right there as well, along with my kind of my thoughts on to the answers to the questions. And you can comment and refine or disagree or improve the answer for the person who asked it. That would be fantastic if you would join in on that. That's Tuesdays. Wednesdays is a day where I play wordsmith on Wednesday. Not always successfully, but I'm putting it out there, leaving my comfort zone. Wednesdays is my day for poetry. Thursdays is a day for me to just, take a breath and not have to worry about anything with the website. Nothing's going on Thursdays. Of course, it's all there. So if Thursdays is a day that's perfect for you to pop over and check in, it is there. And then Friday is Fetish Friday, where there's an article about a kink or a fetish. Try to give a little brief history of it as best as my researching abilities and finding reliable, truthful research on it allows, and where it is now, why people like it, um, and all of that. So that's there on Fridays. Saturdays and Sundays, let's face it, we're all busy people. So either they're great days for you to catch up on what's at the website, and they're a great day for me to just to have a breather and not once again worry about the website or create a little content for the future. Um, and also, of course, with the website, you will be able to listen to this amazing podcast right there as well. There's always a link, so you can just play it right from the website without having to go to your favorite podcasting platform. So that's all there at chattingwiththelightkeeper.com. So please check it out. Let me know what you think. And also, if you happen to say use Instagram and you haven't tried Threads, or if you've tried Threads, um, go ahead, look me up there. I'm chatting with Lightkeeper. Amazingly, it's the same. Um, and join in the fun of the ABCs of BDSM. So that's what I've got for this week, and I look forward to chatting with you next week. So until then, have a great week, and I will chat with you soon.